It's been talked about for years. Now the fate of KCI is finally in your hands. Coming up in this special hour-long election edition of the program, we're joined by airport officials, city leaders, and opponents of a single terminal plan for KCI. Plus, how did we get here? We take you on an eye-opening video journey.
Week in Review is made possible through the generous support of Dave and Jamie Cummings, Smithfield Foods, Haas and Wilkerson Insurance, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Nick Haynes. Doesn't it seem like we've been talking about this forever? In fact, I'm a little hoarse even talking about it this much. Well, if you thought you've already heard all you need to know about the debate over KCI, think again. Before you head to the ballot box Tuesday, we're presenting the most in-depth, multi-perspective look at this issue on television. We begin with KCPT's Michael Price, who spent the last 3 months on nothing else. He's been digging for answers. How did we really arrive at this current proposal? Did City Hall too quickly dismiss rival ideas? And after all the task forces, the council meetings, and the public hearings, are there still lingering questions that remain unanswered? Here's KCPT's Michael Price.
Welcome to Kansas City International Airport, or KCI. Although it serves our region, it belongs to the city of Kansas City, Missouri. And what should be their prized asset, their crown jewel, some see as no longer fit for purpose.
This is potentially 200 people in a small gate area with no access to move around.
We know something needs to be done at the airport.
But the scramble this year to award the contract to build a new terminal has raised concerns about how City Hall does business.
I think our credibility has taken a huge hit nationwide.
I don't know what to make. I'm flabbergasted.
On November the 7th, a new single terminal will be on the ballot for voters in Kansas City, Missouri. But whatever the outcome, some change is made at City Hall.
Every day, there are a lot of things that we just do at City Hall because that's how we do them, right?
The nature of my job is meeting clients where they are all over the country. And I have Kansas City clients, but also I'm jumping on planes often.
As a consultant to non-profits, Chad travels a lot. Last year, he took around 160 flights. He knows his airports.
I think for the business traveler like myself that's in and out every week, KCI is a bit like an old shoe. It's convenient in many ways. We have our routines. We know how to get from our shuttle to our gate rather efficiently.
Most users of KCI would agree that it's convenient. Last year, in a survey of 60 airports across the country, KCI came out above average for its access, check-in, and security check. But that's not to say it doesn't have its flaws.
On the other hand, once you're behind security, very few eating options, very few restroom options, nothing to see, nothing to do.
KCI scored below average for food, beverage, retail and terminal facilities. The lack of space restricts what the aviation department can do.
And there's not enough space, there's not enough restrooms for the customers to have the kind of experience that they deserve inside the gate areas in our facility.
KCI has 3 terminals shaped like horseshoes. At the moment, only 2 of these are in use. Opened in 1972, they were designed for a time before the need for secure gate areas. These areas are squeezed into just half the terminal's width.
We're confined in this very skinny space that's 72 feet deep and 1/3 of a mile long that doesn't give us the elbow room that we need.
So how do we get more space?
I think it's strictly a matter of opinion as to whether we need a single terminal or we can renovate the terminals that we have.
But is expanding the current design, rather than replacing it all with a new single terminal, a viable option? This local architect thinks so.
Everybody up to that point believes City Hall. Oh no, we've done all the studies. We absolutely need a brand new single terminal.
In December of 2015, Councilwoman Teresa Law got in touch with Stacey Jones.
I just said, I want to see if we can do something with these current terminals.
So we associated with a firm called Woods Bagot who have done a tremendous amount of airport work throughout the world. We also brought in some civil engineers, and we sat around the table and we nutted out the problem.
After 2 days, the group came up with a design for a remodel.
Add 100 feet of width to the existing building where the roadway currently is. There is a sensible solution in there for retaining what we have, but building upon the good aspects.
Now, if they had 6 months, they probably could have done a hell of a lot better, but where they're at now, it was pretty doggone good.
But some weren't overly enthused.
We thought it was going to be welcomed with open arms. Well, guess what? It went down like a lead balloon. It was not what City Hall wanted to hear. Why? I don't know. I'm an architect. I'm not a politician.
Councilwoman Law couldn't get city leaders to formally consider the plan, and the airlines concluded that it didn't meet their future needs. In April of 2016, after more than 2 years of joint study and negotiation, the Aviation Department and the airlines made a final recommendation to Council for a new single terminal. But why is renovation not an option?
We've been remodeling for 45 years. The question is, what about the next 45 years? Can we really remodel to get there? And that was the conversation with the airlines, and the airlines said, we don't support that.
But in Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth Airport has recently been renovating its old horseshoe-shaped terminals rather than replacing them. They're larger than KCI's and opened 2 years afterwards in 1974. As recently as 2013, a major airline at KCI was lukewarm on the idea of a new single terminal. It was the issue of cost that helped convince them.
And once they understood the cost and understood the things that we can't do inside of this facility, it was their preference at that time to say, let's stop looking at renovations and start looking at new.
The Aviation Department say that Crawford's remodeling plan would cost as much as a new single terminal.
I believe that the Crawford plan showed that doing one terminal was about $300 million. We would have to do all three, which takes us to about $1 billion, and that's the price of the new terminal.
Well, that's a very convenient answer. Show us the money. I have to imagine that the new single terminal will cost more, way more than $1 billion.
For City Hall and the airlines, a remodeled airport is off the table at the moment. But that may change if a new single terminal doesn't carry the vote on November the 7th.
We know something needs to be done, and with that in mind, maybe that renovation piece can be an option.
According to the Aviation Department, only around 12% of KCI's customers are residents of Kansas City, Missouri. And yet it's that city's voters who'll get to decide what happens here. Why is that? Well, it's because the city owns the airport, and in December of 2013, Santa paid a visit to City Hall.
We were a relatively new organization trying to get some attention for our group, and I told the guys, I said, you know, I've got a Santa suit.
Dan Coffey's group uses petitions to fight City Hall in a number of policy areas.
Are you a Kansas City, Missouri registered voter?
These include the proposed downtown convention hotel and the airport. The present he dropped off that December at City Hall was a petition requiring a public vote on a new single terminal.
All the vote on November 7th is going to do is say, give us permission to destroy the airport you have now and build a new one. Trust us, we'll build something really nice. Well, I got to tell you, there is no trust. People do not trust our city government anymore.
The mayor, the city manager, the Aviation Department and much of the council want a new single terminal.
When you get realistic about it, there is a need for a new facility.
But it'll only happen if people trust their judgment. The Aviation Department was taking steps to win that trust.
In April of 17, we sought to engage the community through listening sessions, and we met with about 40 different neighborhood groups and to help everyone identify the need.
It was all going smoothly, and then this happened.
But all I'm asking for today is for the people.
I learned about the recommendation about 36 hours before a press conference, so that was new.
He wasn't the only one surprised.
The majority of the council was caught completely off guard.
The city manager didn't tell us about it before the press conference either.
We had no idea.
I think the way that the council was officially informed was that the mayor's chief of staff sent us an email, I want to say it was the night before.
Do you feel that you were kept out of the loop, and if so?
Oh, very much so.
What happened was this. The mayor and city manager announced they were backing a sole bid from a local engineering company called Burns & McDonnell to build a $1 billion privately financed single terminal. A 20-page memorandum of understanding was already drafted. It would have given the company the exclusive right to proceed with the development. The council were asked to sign it off, but some were wondering what had happened to the system of government.
Number one, the mayor to put the city manager in that position. And then for the city manager not to reach out and say, hey, you know, this is what's going on. That's his job. His job is to keep all of us abreast and informed of what's going on with the city.
That's his job.
Yes.
He didn't do that.
Yes.
Should he still be in his job?
Well, I mean, we have to evaluate every facet and every aspect of his job. So, you know, I'm sure we'll be having conversations about all of these things moving forward.
Both the mayor and city manager wouldn't give us an interview. And our written question to the city manager as to why he didn't keep council abreast of what was happening prior to May the 12th remains unanswered. But it wasn't just that the council hadn't been kept up to speed. In backing the one bid, City Hall was looking to avoid a central tenet of good contracting practice for public bodies.
Well, all of the work that we do is based on an assumption that any contracting system is operating in accordance with some fundamental principles.
Bill Woods works on behalf of Congress to check whether federal money is being spent in the public interest on private contracts.
We're looking for a system that features competition, because competition leads to the best value for the taxpayer. Lower prices, more innovation, better solutions.
Generally, the principle of competition should be followed at a local level as well. But here, the city code allows department directors, the city manager, or the council to sign off an exemption. And that's what the city manager and mayor wanted the council to do for this project.
We just couldn't fathom giving a $1 billion contract out with no bids.
We tried to, as a council, sanitize the process.
The council pushed back, and then we pushed back pretty hard.
So we decided that we would, open it up for bids.
A multinational called AECOM had stepped forward to say it wanted to compete for the project. City Hall relented and initiated a competition which ended up with 4 teams. But, according to a California-based industry insider, some companies may have been put off.
When I asked various contacts I have in the industry, both on the equity and the contractor side, if they were going to go after this project, several of them would say, and not surprisingly, that it wasn't necessarily a process that would result in it being competitively looked at.
Initially, City Hall gave just 3 weeks for companies to submit their qualifications and proposals. In Diana Part's experience, the time given for this is a minimum of 6 months.
The industry typically looks at it as the owner has already pre-chosen its team, and it's just giving this very short window as just a courtesy to the industry.
In July, City Hall formed a selection committee to consider the 4 proposals it had received. The committee was made up of the city manager, 3 of his employees from the aviation department, and 2 council members, Jolly Justice and Jermaine Reed. The presence of elected officials at this stage raised some eyebrows.
It's probably unheard of to have an elected official in a position of deciding the outcome, to avoid any look of bias, any look of conflict of interest.
I don't think in this case it was an issue or a problem. One of the issues that can be talked about is all of the other individuals on the selection committee were the employee of the city manager. He may be able to have more influence on votes from the selection committee than anyone else.
The 2 council members were involved because they chair relevant council committees. A raft of experts were brought in to advise, and the competition was up and running. But other important principles needed to be followed.
It's very important that the operation of the system be open and transparent to everyone.
For some reason, early in this process, secrecy became the rule as opposed to actually just being the exception.
In July, the councilman helped pass a resolution to improve transparency.
Frankly, I think that the more eyeballs on something, the more people understand something, the better. Sunshine, sunlight is the best disinfectant.
In a statement to the programme, the city manager's office wrote, "Throughout the procurement process, the city followed the municipal code, with transparency and communication through regular updates to the City Council and the public during open meetings." But the entire competition was given a little over 3 months. In Diana Park's experience, cities usually give it upwards of 12 months.
Do you think you could sum up your thoughts of this process in a single word?
Short. Too short.
But there was a winner, and it wasn't Burns and McDonnell, which the city manager and mayor had backed originally.
I wouldn't take that to Vegas and expect to get very good odds of that losing. But lo and behold, the out-of-town firm from the East Coast is the one that ends up winning.
The winning team was led by out-of-town company Edgemoor. Burns and McDonnell was disqualified because of their financing plans. Councilman Barnes, an engineer by training, was able to observe all but one of the selection committee meetings. He has concerns that its review process was vague.
That's what the selection committee supposedly went off of, is, you know, an approach and a collaborative approach that was offered by the winning proposer.
That's mushy.
Very much so. Yeah, I agree with you.
And the selection committee reached its decision without its members indicating their vote.
I was there, and it was more of a consensus. Yeah.
The competing companies didn't do anything wrong. They were trying to play by the rules, such as they were. But because the specifics weren't nailed down, the price may go up.
The owner's going to have to negotiate all the very hard commercial points that cause developers and private participants to raise their costs and raise their price.
We're told the project will be privately financed, and so it's the airlines and their customers who'll foot the bill. In September, a council majority formally endorsed the selection committee's decision. 2 voted against it: Scott Taylor, who favoured Burns and McDonnell's bid, and Lee Barnes, who favoured AECOM's.
I haven't been shy about saying I think the selection committee made a mistake.
The process now rests on how the public vote goes on November the 7th. But the way this rolled out raises some broader questions for City Hall.
Do we have a process that provides the best information for the public, ensures competitiveness in all cases, and ensures that both council and, I think our business community understands how decisions are being made each day? The answer to that, I think, is also no.
City Hall followed the rules, but the rules don't necessarily follow good practice that seeks to protect the public interest. And we've been here before. In 2008, the city auditor published a report urging the then city manager to follow good practice. It listed 21 practical ways the city could do that in running a bidding process. So how many of the 21 were followed this summer?
Well, it appears we followed 10 of the 21.
Out of 21 recommendations, I see that we followed 5 of them.
Some were followed, many were not. For every process flaw we had, it creates more questions. Was there favoritism? Were you fair to all parties? And that's regrettable.
Every year, City Hall enters into contracts with companies for hundreds of millions of dollars. We don't know how many of these have been legally exempted from the principle of competition.
I think the council is very on guard now. Not much is going to get by us without one of us knowing something's up and sharing it with the others.
He's Michael Price with that report. Joining me now are some of the important players you saw in that story, along with some other key voices who help us better understand this debate. Justin Meyer is KCI's salesman-in-chief. He is the airport's chief of marketing and the city's Deputy Aviation Director. And convinced by this new single terminal plan is Don Hensley, a commercial pilot and aviation consultant who spent 33 years with the Federal Aviation Administration. As part of that career, he led air traffic operations at Dallas, Fort Worth, St. Louis, and at KCI airports. You just saw him in the film, Kansas City Councilman Quinton Lucas, who cast his vote to place this plan on the ballot. And also from the film, Stacey Jones, a founding partner with Crawford Architects, which was asked to draw up renovation plans for KCI, only to see that effort go nowhere. I want to start with you, though, Councilman Lucas. You know, in the film, you're talking about this being a secretive, messy process, and yet your name appears on all of the campaign mailers for a yes vote on Tuesday for a better KCI. Why?
Because I think the voters have a simple question. Do we need a new airport or do we not? And as someone who came into council being as skeptical as anyone, but had the chance to tour the facility, see what our limits are long term, the answer is yes, that we need a new facility. And so while there was a messy process, I would say, frankly, any billion-dollar deal, be it public, private, any company, will have drama, will have some sort of intrigue. But at the same time, I think we got a good process. We got a developer we can be proud of, and we have a project that this region desperately needs.
And this is something the airlines say they want, Don Hensley, so why wouldn't we want to move forward with a new single terminal at KCI?
Well, I find it interesting as to how the airlines came to agreement with regards to finally getting on board with the single terminal, when I know for a fact that the major carrier, Southwest Airlines, was not in favor of it up until just recently. And then in further research, I found out that the city is going to develop a new, what they call residual airline airport agreement, and that's completely different than the compensatory agreement that they've had in the past. This agreement will give Southwest Airlines and the airlines, the signatories of that agreement, control over the money and how that will be spent in the future for future capital and investments. And that's why I think they are now interested in the single terminal. It's beyond me why somebody hasn't offered Southwest Airlines all of Terminal A at a reasonable rent, a price $1 a year for 25 years. Let them invest all their money they want to invest in that, develop 20, 22 gates, and let them hub out of here like they want to do.
Justin.
Terminal A is an interesting question, and one we get a lot is why isn't Terminal A the answer? And the truth is, we actually told Southwest, what would you like to do with Terminal A? And Southwest said unequivocally, and all the other airlines said, tear it down and build a new terminal there. That is the right answer. There's been a lot of airlines that have been in Terminal A, and they don't exist anymore. It's a long list of America West, U.S. Airways, Midwest, Midwest Connect. Those carriers are gone, and the consolidation that's taken place in the industry has really been what's forced us into two terminals, B and C, and the square footage that we have in terminals B and C is the right size for us going forward.
A lot has been said about what the airlines want and what they don't want. Let's look at exactly what they said to City Hall about what they do want. This was 18 months ago. Let's listen in.
The airlines have agreed to the new terminal concept. The airlines have agreed to take the financial risk for the project. The airlines agree to back the debt. The airlines do not support any other terminal alternative.
So, Stacey, you have been pushing a renovation plan for KCI Airport when the airlines have been so unequivocal that this is what they want. Why is a renovation plan an idea when the main client doesn't want it?
Well, look, just because you say something many, many times over doesn't make it true. I'm not a born skeptic, but I delve into areas where other people don't go because someone's already said that's been exhausted, we should move on. Well, it just didn't seem to ring true to me. So we were asked to go back mine over the old ground and have a look and see if indeed we do need to spend $1 billion or more than $1 billion, because this thing will escalate, to get what we really need. There's nobody on this side of the table, my colleagues all included, that don't believe that we shouldn't be doing something at the airport. I just don't believe we need a new terminal. I think we need a renewed airport, but not a new one. So I believe that we can get all of the airport's demands settled, all of the customer satisfaction way up where it needs to be by doing a very judicious renovation and a rebuild of what we already have. So why does Southwest want, and why have they turned on a dime and chucked a 180, so to speak, from no, we don't need a new terminal to now we need one? I don't know the answer to that.
But in the film, though, Justin, you point out that the renovation efforts could have cost as much as what a new terminal was going to cost.
Yeah, so the airlines, I think it's really important to point out that the airlines came into the 2-year negotiation process with a bias towards renovation because it was their perception, as is many, that the renovation would be the cheapest way to go. And it was once we established the program goals of the things we needed, duplication in baggage systems and larger gate areas and restrooms inside the gate areas, once we set up all those goals and then started going through the process, the airlines really said, you know, we have to build, the renovation becomes so comprehensive, saying nothing about the facility of reinforced aggregate, exposed aggregate concrete that might not last forever. They said it becomes such a large project to get us to where we need to go to establish these goals that it's good money after bad. And that was late 2015 that the airlines made that decision. So it wasn't a 180 degree on a second. They looked at it for a long time, and it was their bias to do a renovation. And there's options and options in a February 2016 presentation they did that they said, we've looked at all of these things.
Stacey.
No, look, I'm an architect, not an engineer, but I do know a little bit about reinforced concrete. Concrete out there is fine. We have the inherent value in what we already have is embedded, it's quite high. We don't need to tear it down and start over. Plus, the renovation costs that I'm referring to, we need to renovate 2 of those terminals, which can be done for under $700 million, is our opinion, not $1 billion more, $1.2 billion, $1.3 billion, whatever it needs to be.
Well, Councilman Lucas, did the City Council ever consider putting a renovation plan and a new single terminal on the ballot at the same time? So at least a decision was made when it came to going before voters.
You know, I think the City Council considered just about every option. I sit on all the committees that touch this issue. We visited Dallas Love Field. Several of us have visited DFW Airport. We've talked to the airlines. We've listened to the airlines. We've listened to our aviation staff, and we've talked to a number of others. And the way we got to this was through a methodical evaluation of all the options. And after that methodical evaluation of all the options, the really only sustainable option for the future of KCI was in the view of a vast majority of this council that we need to construct new terminals. And I'll say this to anyone who says we should just do a renovation. How long does that last? Is this a 10-year fix? Is it a 20-year fix and we come back and we need a new terminal after that? I mean, there's a real argument to how much money do we want to throw into a renovation when 10, 20, maybe 25 years later we're doing a new thing?
But in the film, you mentioned going to Dallas-Fort Worth. And Dallas-Fort Worth has a horseshoe design airport. They decide to renovate, not build a new airport. Wasn't that part of a decision about money and about making it a faster process to actually build a new airport?
I really appreciate Michael Price's comparison to Dallas, and that's one we get quite often because of the semicircles that they have there, and we have horseshoes here, so people say your airports are very similar. The terminals are completely different in the depth that's offered there, and I think it's important to point out that the renovation that's taking place, or has been taking place in the 4 original 1974 terminals, that's actually been paused. American Airlines said, hey, DFW, stop renovating. Do not renovate Terminal C because we're not sure it fits for the airline that we are now. So when you look at the 5th terminal, Terminal D, that was constructed at Dallas in 2005, it looks nothing like the other terminals, and there's a reason for that because the U.S. airline industry has changed, and the way airlines want to operate at airports have changed, and the semicircles at Dallas weren't the answer anymore, and the semicircles or the horseshoes in Kansas City aren't the answer anymore.
Well, you were in charge of air traffic operations at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. Is it unfair to compare Kansas City to Dallas?
No, it's not. In fact, you know, when I went down and researched the Dallas-Fort Worth expansion project, and the issue behind all this is they doubled the size of their holding rooms, their entire area in the horseshoes. That's what they needed to do. They put the restaurants, they put the concessions facilities in there. They've done all the things that the airlines in today's flying public say they want, okay? And they've expanded from 107 gates, and when they're done, they're going to have 145 gates at a price of $2.7 billion. And that equates out to about $18 million a gate. The cost to do this renovation and to actually downsize Kansas City International from a facility that has 66 gates available to them In their 2016 Moody report that they put out, they had 66 gates available and 47 jet bridges, and they want to take it down to 35 gates, and that's a reduction of 50%. And many airline people that I've talked to said this is the only place I've ever seen where somebody wants to spend $1 billion to downsize to half of what you have. That's going to stifle growth. It's going to stifle any new airlines coming in here. It'll stifle any opportunity for somebody to come in here and do that. And it's also then going to put the major carrier with the residual agreement in charge of the monies later on. And do you think Southwest Airlines, or any airlines, not just Southwest, is going to say, you know, here comes Spirit Airlines, or here comes JetBlue, and they want to bring 5 airplanes in here a day, or 10, and we need 5 more gates. Will you sign off on expanding the airport so you can accommodate that? I don't think so.
So why spend so much money on downsizing the number of gates, Justin?
Right. So the count of gates that are currently leased in our facility is 29, and Don's correct. The most we've ever had is about 48 across all 3 terminals. We don't have demand for that much capacity, and there are other airports. I look at Pittsburgh, which is about to kick off a $1 billion project to get smaller because they're too big and they don't need the space. The airlines that we have just about every major U.S. airline with the exception of JetBlue already doing business in Kansas City, and all of them are supporting this plan. The reason why they don't want to build significantly more gates than they have isn't because they want to stifle competition. It's because you don't build the church for Easter Sunday, and we are working with them, and the FAA would prohibit the airlines from saying, well, every gate's full and now you can't expand. That doesn't happen. That kind of blocking competition.
Well, then the answer is very simple: keep what we have, renovate 2 of the terminals, leave C in abeyance for the future. If Justin's right and we need more gates, if the airline industry keeps increasing, then we'll revisit that in another 10 or 15 years. Meanwhile, we've only spent less than $700 million, haven't done the Big Bang Theory and built everything today for something that may or may not happen tomorrow. What if we're all wrong at this table? Why spend over $1 billion for an answer that we really can't predict? I don't have a crystal ball, but I'd like to limit our risk.
Okay, do you want to respond to that, Justin?
I would like to. I think it's really important to look back to 1968 when Kansas City made a decision on the airport. The promise in the campaign flyers in 1968 for a $150 million bond issuance to move the airport to Kansas City International, to make that the airport, promised supersonic international flights, and promised that large companies would come and operate headquarters in Kansas City, and that we would be the first from the ground up supersonic airport in the United States. None of that ever happened. So I ask, would the right decision have been to stay at Municipal Airport, or where we ended up, is it right even though we weren't sure, or we were wrong, they were wrong on what the predictions of the future would be?
Well, let's look at a lot of the promises and the claims, and let's take a closer look, first of all, at what you see when you head to the ballot box Tuesday. Here is the question. You'll note there is no mention of how much money will be spent, no mention of Edgemoor, the design team, and the developer. So when we hear this $1.3 billion figure for what this will cost, is it possible, Quinton Lucas, it could be a totally different figure, and this ballot measure doesn't limit that amount at all?
Is it possible it could be a different figure? Sure. I don't know if I would use totally, but I think what we have come up with and what we're working on the MOU is certainly a limit to the expense. That's why we went through the competitive process at all, to try to get to a point where we would have a company that wants to make sure that they can deliver what's necessary here at a good price. Let me make one other point, though, because this part of the debate is something that's interesting all the time. First, Don notes that Southwest Airlines perhaps may be part of some sort of somewhat conspiratorial approach to try to take over the field and have control in an anti-competitive way. The story is this. We talked to American Airlines. We talked to Delta Airlines. We talked to United Airlines, American, which operates heavily at DFW. They all want this. This isn't one party. This isn't one mayor. This isn't one person. This has been a collaboration of folks that have looked at the issue. And what I keep hearing is, from the no side, they're saying, we can't trust you for this because you're not sure about everything. But from their side, they're saying, but we are sure that the public may get harmed by X or Y. The fundamental idea is this. We know that we have a company that has an incentive to deliver the best price. Why? Because they want to make sure that they can actually make some level of money off of it, but that the airlines aren't paying too much and that we're not paying too much. There is no economic reason why anyone would be driving up the cost here.
Okay, what is this new? Go on.
I really have to disagree with what's being said here because, number one, I don't think there's a conspiracy issue that's going on. Since 2007, they went out and spent somewhere between 13 and 15 million with private contractors, with private consultants to vet out and come up with just a single terminal option. The consultant that worked for Southwest was the one that was driving this whole message. And when I know Crawford's plan was presented to him, Jolie Justice is the one that finally gave in and said, okay, we'll take a look at it. And they gave it to the consultant that was working for Southwest, the direct competitor to him who was driving a single terminal. And they come out and they just, like he said in the thing, it went down like a lead balloon. It is absolutely mind-boggling. You build 35 gates, when you land a 36 airplane, where are you going to put it? It's not going to be there. And when you have major weather events, and people start diverting here to offload people, where are they going to put them? They're not thinking beyond that.
Okay, so how about to those last questions? Where do you put all of these people if you've got all of the capacity for all these flights? Where are all of these
where we put them today, when we have a diversion, we have medical diversions and mechanical diversions. They happen all the time. And we find a space in the existing facility, right? We don't have, other than the big morning push, we really don't have situations where every gate is occupied. And one of the things that's really beneficial about a terminal that has some efficiencies and ability for reuse is that if an airline is not using a gate, a preferential gate beyond a set number, if you've only got 2 turns a day on a gate, well, you shouldn't have that gate all to yourself. And in the current situation, because of our linear design, all of our gates are ticket counter dependent, bag claim dependent. I can't give Delta an extra gate in Terminal C because their passengers aren't going to drop their bag at a ticket counter and ride a red bus over. So we get a lot more efficiency in the new terminal design.
What is this new terminal actually going to look like? The ballot question, as I mentioned, doesn't even mention the design team Edgemoor, but does that mean that they haven't been presenting a vision for what they have in mind? Here's the latest concept told in their own words at a business session of the City Council.
Next item of business, KCI update.
We've heard loud and clear the convenience factor of the current airport and making sure we replicate that in the new single terminal, and I think you'll be very pleased with how we represent that.
It's a 2-level terminals. You also see in the rendering, I hope there'll be a high-level pedestrian connector from the upper levels of the garage. That garage is right there, just the way it is today, and perhaps even closer.
The main check-in hall, we want to be a grand space, light and airy. One of the key features as a kind of memorable moment that is unique to Kansas City, the idea that it's the city of fountains and that there would be a fountain as a kind of central focal piece of the departures check-in hall. And it can be programmed to do a variety of things for holidays, for, if there's a sports team that wins their title, even on the hour, you could have a great event that people get to see. All can be programmed into these water features. So that would be distinct for this terminal and distinct in the world of airports. Nobody else has done anything like this, and we think it would be a great kind of hats off to the city of fountains. Next, then, we're transitioning to one of the retail offering areas. It's designed as a kind of open piazza, a kind of central space where people can sit, they can gather, you can take in the sights around you. It's an opportunity to incorporate performances, showcasing all of the local arts. And then as you transition, this is a view depicting what a typical gate lounge might be. So this is that moment before you get on the plane. Even if you're at the gate, you can still get a bottle of water, you can get a bite to eat, you can charge your phone, and your children can play in a custom designed play area inspired by the air traffic control tower. This is a view depicting what the baggage claim hall might look like. And that water feature we described in the check-in hall actually descends all the way from the roof, all the way down to the baggage claim hall. So this also will be animated. You'll hear the sound of music. It can be programmed like the illustrations we saw earlier. So to be very welcoming, a very calm space, and very clear as to where you're going.
The Edgemoor design team in their own words, but just because they show these images, it doesn't mean this is what it's going to look like, right, Quinton Lucas? Isn't it possible that it could look completely different than this? Nothing on this ballot holds them to any of these pictures we've just shown you.
You know, I don't think I would say it will be completely different. I think, sure, there could
I'm going to be disappointed if my kids can't play at a traffic control tower in one of those gate areas.
You know, I think these are renderings, certainly. These are early renderings. They were just awarded the project roughly a month and a half ago. But for some reason in this whole conversation, we're letting the perfect be the enemy of the good. The need for the airport has been articulated by the airlines. It's been agreed to by the City Council. There's momentum in Kansas city. And while certainly, and I heard it from Don and others, there are a lot of interesting things that you can put up there. I'm a lawyer by training, and I might raise the objection of relevance. Frankly, he noted we spent money to talk to consultants over the years. Certainly we did, because we wanted to know what was going on. But frankly, does that change the answer to the question? Do we need an improved terminal, a new terminal facility? And I think the answer continues to be yes. So we can go through every process point, and I will have to say, do we have a final contract yet? No. Are these the exact designs in stone? No. But we'll certainly get a good project out of that, and no one has any reason to deliver a substandard project that Edgemoor or anyone else would be embarrassed of.
We do need an improved airport. We said that at the very beginning, at least I did. How we got to this point is what I'm against. The ballot question should have an option in there for a renovation. Why not? The P3 process, the public-private partnership process that we've just gone through, was a debacle, in my words, a very shonky outcome. We might get what we want at the end of the day, but nothing about the process up to this point is an indicator that that's what's going to happen. So we need to do a proper public-private partnership process. We need to change the ballot question. We don't need to reset and redo, but we need to go back a little bit and start
this is the
process.
question that voters have to decide, regardless of the messiness of the process, in the words of Councilman Lucas. But when we look at some of the claims being made in the campaign materials for a new KCI, let's look at some of those. One is a better KCI will have more to offer, more flights in and out of KC. Will it mean more flights, Justin Meyer?
Well, I think it's really important, Nick, to look at what we have right now, and to see that we're growing and we're adding flights, but we're being passed, and there are airports in our peer group, Nashville, Indianapolis, Raleigh, that are passing us. And this, what we have today, which the airlines have said they don't like, isn't going to get us across the finish line. And I think that it's very short-sighted to say the answer that we had in 1968 or 1972 for the realities of what the U.S. airline industry was in 1972 is still the correct answer for today.
Okay, but this is not going to necessarily get you more choices, more non-stop flights across the country.
The airlines won't commit to that, and it's very clear why, because if Southwest Airlines was to say, if Gary Kelly came here on Friday and said, hey, Kansas City, if you vote yes, I'll give you 4 flights a day to Atlanta, 4 more flights a day to Atlanta. You know what Delta would say? Warfare. It's on. We're going to add 6 more flights to Kansas City, and they're in business to make money and not signal. So the airlines, they have said that they are being held back by the facility today, and I think that's extremely important to understand.
Stacey,
look, when this airport opened in 1972, we had 184 departures out of that facility. Today, we have 150. That's down 18.5%. In 2007, we had 23,500 people leaving enplanements out of Kansas City Airport. Today, we have 18,500. That's down 21%. Where is this magical growth in airport travel coming from?
Absolutely.
Since we opened in 1972, the average growth per year of the airport has been 1.9%, and the forecast that the airlines agreed upon was 1.9%. The U.S. airline industry is extremely cyclical, and we are in a great time. Airlines are making really good money right now. It's a great time to be negotiating a terminal deal with airlines. So is the growth there? Yeah, we just, through September, we were at 40 months of consecutive year-over-year growth.
They're making money because airline gas is $1.80. Mm-hmm. 3 or 4 years ago, it was almost $4.
Right.
That's where they're making their money. Their airport costs
and the airlines have done a great job too of hedging their bet, and I don't mean via fuel hedges, but by the way they've changed the airplanes. And Don mentioned a little bit about flights and gates, and I think it's important to recognize that the industry has evolved significantly from 1972. And I've been in aviation on the airline side and airport side for 20 years, and I remember when planes used to be empty. Looking at published flight schedules in 1972, in November when we opened, the average airplane had 84 seats and was half full, which meant a typical departure at Kansas City International Airport on average had 42 passengers. Today that number is over 100 passengers per departure. And coming back to the councilman's point, do we need a new terminal? Look at Gate 76 when Frontier's boarding a 150-seat airplane, and it's obvious we need more space.
Okay, let's look at another claim that you will see when you get a postcard or a flyer through the mail, or you'll see a TV ad on this particular election issue. If you don't go to the airport, you don't pay anything. Revenue from the airport and those who use the airport, including out-of-town travelers, cover the costs. Is that true, Don?
For the most part, it is true, but the tax dollars that you're going to pay on the ticket tax is still going to come from the people who actually go out there and use the airport, okay? And if you go on the airport and park to pick up somebody, you're going to pay a tax there, so it's still going to be paid by the public. But my biggest concern is from 1972 to 2012, I never heard the word that we have a terminal or terminals that were congested. They were overcrowded. We didn't have enough gates, et cetera, et cetera. But magically we closed Terminal A and all of a sudden moved two of the busiest airlines into the single terminal. And now we got film crews and Kansas City Star out there making notes about how crowded it is with long lines and stuff. And then they have the audacity to put a valet parking concession place right in front of Southwest Airlines, our busiest air carrier, and actually block curbside ability to drop passengers off and pick them up. And then they go out and film during the busiest times. I just recently took a flight to Las Vegas. 9 o'clock in the morning departure out of here nonstop. Got on a 737-800 with 175 other passengers. It was absolutely a walk in the park. There was no activity, there was no congestion, there were no big lines. I didn't need 2 hamburgers at $9 to eat before I get on the airplane, or a $5 cup of coffee. So my point is, I don't get why they're trying to do this. They fabricated this congestion issue on their own. It's self-imposed to support where they want to go with this single terminal.
Fabricated and self-imposed. Justin or Quentin?
I'll let Justin start. I may follow up. I think, first of all, I guess I'll start.
I guess you will.
The contention that there is some fabrication starting in 2012 that has been, and I go back to this, it sounds like there's some sort of conspiracy. There is not. Frankly, and I think anyone who watches City Hall knows that we have a lot of disagreements all the time about a number of things, including airport issues. There is no disagreement about the fact that we have significant need now. There's no disagreement about the fact that our aviation staff, and this is why I'm talking, they're not trying to make the experience worse. It doesn't help his resume or any of his work to say, I drove KCI into the ground over a period of 5 years. And frankly, that suggestion is entirely an error. So he can talk about why consolidations really led us to this issue, but this is not some sort of conspiracy by the Aviation Department or the city of Kansas City, Missouri, just to trick people in the fall of 2017.
Well, my comments are not in error because look at the facts speak for themselves. What did they do? They closed Terminal A and a 2,000 parking garage to the public, and then said, now we're congested and we need more parking. Now, the actions speak for itself. And anybody that has any common sense at all sees that. And I've heard that from many people that I've talked to about this, of why they did it. And when you go through the process of where we headed and how we got to where we're at, they go, oh, I see now.
Okay, let's get a rebuttal from Justin on that.
The councilman really has hit the points on the head. There's the thought that I show up to work every day and my 400 other colleagues at the aviation department show up every day with a nefarious intent to make the airport worse is ridiculous. I don't know. Do you show up to work every day to try to make this place worse? It's crazy.
I hope not.
And
Stacey's going to.
And I think it's important to recognize we have gates now. If our airlines want to expand, we still have unleased gates in Terminal B and C. So there's room to grow inside there. The thing we need to keep going back to is that the trend in the industry is towards larger airplanes and more full load factors, and whether or not Southwest leases 9 gates in Terminal B or 9 gates in Terminal A, when they're busy in the morning, and 9 o'clock in the morning is actually a quiet time because busy is 5:30 to 7:30, if they're 9 in Terminal A, it's still going to be the same experience.
Can I just bust a myth?
Please do.
Yeah. Kevin Costa wrote recently in rebuttal to a KC Star article about these long wait times at KCI. The average wait time in the busiest airports, LAX, Orlando, Chicago, they're up there, 40 minutes, 35 minutes, 25 minutes. Do you know what the average wait time at KCI is? It's 4 minutes, 1/10 of what it is at LAX. At the TSA Speedy line, it's 2 minutes. At the regular line, it's a little over 4 minutes, but it averages under 4 minutes. Justin added earlier that we don't want to build this facility for Easter Sunday. Couldn't agree with him more. But to obfuscate this argument and film it when it's at its busiest period and let everybody think that KCI is so congested, I think that is in fact a furphy.
You mentioned there the TSA lines, and that's about security, which I don't see actually on a lot of the campaign materials today as one of the main arguments, but that's an argument for you, Don.
Well, you know, the KCI and the congestion issue and the capacity, not only capacity for the airport, that the airport is there and is available. It could put 3 airlines could come here and say, we're going to give you 30 flights a day, and we could handle it. The airport could handle that with absolutely no problem whatsoever. And the revenues would go up. But you have to have gates to accommodate that. If you go down to 35 gates, you're not going to get there. My other biggest concern is about the cost. The cost of this 35-gate terminal is estimated anywhere from, they say, $964 million out to $1.3 billion. Okay, and I haven't seen a project like this ever come in under budget on these type things, regardless of how you built them. But when you take the current debt that the city has out of their Moody 2016 report, which is $195 million, and you say you just add the $1.3 billion, let's just use that as a figure, you end up with a cost of an $85 million a year debt added on top of the $82 million current operating costs, which brings it to $168 million a year, and they only bring in $127 million. So how are they going to balance the sheet to do that? That's one thing. And when you look at the overall payout, and I got these numbers directly from the KC Aviation Department, the overall payout for those 35 terminals, closing down everything else and not having that available, is going to be $2.556 billion. That equates to each gate costing $72 million apiece. And I don't know how the airline is going to afford that or pay for that and do that. And it's just simple math.
Kenneth emailed us. He said, I thought most of the complaints about KCI were addressed in the last refurbishment of KCI, and the city hasn't paid off that yet. Is that true, Quinton?
So this is true, but here's the thing. How many more Band-Aids do we want? Part of the problem of our last renovation was that it was a significant Band-Aid. It was several $100 million. And so I guess, do we want to do that in perpetuity? I mean, what the airlines are telling us, and they pay a significant cost in this, and they don't want unhappy customers, is that KCI, as it's currently constructed, does not work for the future of American Airlines, Delta Airlines, United Airlines. What we've also done is significant study, Nick, in hiring outside experts, inside experts, and others to talk about the financing issue, and literally none of them have told me that we are concerned about future debt exposure or debt levels at the Kansas City International Airport. So I understand that we're fighting a bunch of red herring arguments, and I think that's to an extent unfortunate because it distracts us from what is the central question, that we have a funding source that allows that only people who use the airport are going to pay for it. We have our customers, the airlines, and a number of flyers who say that we want an improved airport, and frankly, the city, the local taxpayer who does not touch the airport, is not exposed. And so I found this interesting because it seems like there's a conspiracy among local television, the aviation department, the Star, and others to make the airport seem worse. There's a conspiracy with one airline to destroy things, but when push comes to shove, the real question is, do we need a new airport facility? Do the airlines say we need one? Does our baggage system work for the next decade, 2 decades, 3 decades? The answer is no to whether it works. And so that's why we're here today. And so I find this interesting, but I find these to be distractions to our central question.
You know, as we're having this adult conversation here, did you know some area school districts have actually added the KCI debate to their curriculum? In the Blue Valley and the North Kansas City School District, students in their CAPS program spent a semester researching and coming up with their own ideas for what to do. We spoke to a few of them.
Obviously, you hear about it on the news, but we hadn't really thought about it until we really took on the project.
Name one thing that surprised you didn't know before.
Well, one thing that really surprised me was the lack of awareness. I thought people kind of knew what was going on, but I was doing some research on it, and I would go find little sound bites from YouTube about interviews from major news outlets, and there'd be 60 views on it, and it'd be posted for a year. And it was surprising how little people were pursuing information about the airport.
Michael, what was the biggest surprise for you?
If you don't fly, you don't buy. For right now, the airlines are going to be paying for it, which does not cost the taxpayers any money, which is very surprising.
So I learned that majority of the revenue that comes in from an airport actually isn't from tickets, but it's from all the other aspects, from the concessions to the car rentals to the retail shops that are now in over 50% of airports around the country. And so that's really where they're gaining more of their revenue rather than from ticket sales.
It really surprised me to see like the hard facts. Like we need something like 15,000 more parking spaces and just things like that that really show how much how much growth we are expecting in the area.
This project you're working on then, you are researching. What is the final outcome of all of this?
We kind of found a fusion of a rebuild and a remodel was the best option.
We really like a kind of hybrid idea that allows you to utilize what's already there, like Terminal C, for example, so that you can use that for conference rooms, and then utilizing portions of like Terminal B, but then tearing down Terminal A. So you kind of have a mix of utilizing the old, but then bringing in the new.
You can see more student voices talking about KCI at KCPT's YouTube channel. It gets to the question, though, when they have these other ideas, if this proposal fails on Tuesday, what actually happens? Will you be considering these hybrid plans then, Justin?
Oh, this is up for the councilman to decide.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kansas City's been around for a long time, so if this was unsuccessful on Tuesday, we will talk to the airlines. We'll continue to work and to make sure that we have good flying options for the regional flying public. But I will say unequivocally, this is the best option. Although we are debating a lot of kind of ancillary issues, fundamentally, if we were to talk about renovation tomorrow, we'll have the same, what's the final contract, who are the employees on it, how do we ensure that this is the best? All of the problems that exist with this challenge are problems that exist with any other. And we've found the best approach that's supported by the airlines and that has a good deal of uniformity among experts, airlines, flying passengers, and others. And so that's why I think not all bets are off. We'll keep working hard, but we'll do something better.
And so if this is voted down on Tuesday, Stacey?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think what will happen is not what Quentin just alluded to. I think what would happen and should happen is a proper public-private partnership procurement and delivery process should be initiated immediately, one with transparency and probity, one that everybody who's not that thoroughly familiar with how these things work can at least feel as if the job was done correctly. That's what should happen.
And that is all we have time for on this special hour-long election edition of Week in Review, helping you to better arm yourself with the facts before voting Tuesday. Kansas City Deputy Aviation Director Justin Meyer and City Councilman Quinton Lucas. From Crawford Architects, Stacey Jones, and aviation consultant Don Hensley. Tuesday is decision day for KCI. Next week, our reporters return as we analyze what happened, plus a look at what happened in other key election races around our metro. I'm Nick Haynes. From all of us here at KCPT and from my reporting colleague, Michael Price, who produced our opening film, thanks for spending part of your weekend with us.